This is Out Loud Finally, a safe place to say the things you've been holding in. Welcome back. Today's episode isn't the most easiest one to say out loud, and it might not necessarily be the easiest one to hear, but that's why I decided I wanted to talk about it today. So today I've chosen shame, but more of the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't necessarily announce itself, but lives in the background of your thoughts. The kind that can come as a side effect of struggling, or the kind that some of us are taught. I mean, we all know what shame is, and most of us know how it feels. But this kind of shame is very different. It manifests quietly and yet powerfully. It can feel like a truth, when in reality, it's anything but that. It's often the main thing that keeps us quiet, the thing that stops us from speaking out or asking for help. Shame, well, it makes you feel like your feelings are something you should apologize for. And because of that, a lot of us keep our mental health a secret. Not because we want it to be, but because hiding it ultimately feels safer. Keeping it to ourselves can feel like some kind of protection. Like if no one knows, no one can use it against us or judge us for it. I think we can all agree the unspoken truth is a lot of the time we hide it because we're ashamed to show that we're struggling. And the thing is, a lot of that shame doesn't even start with us. It comes from being told, whether that's directly or indirectly, that we're too sensitive, too dramatic, that we should just be grateful for what we have, that somebody else has it worse, and that we should just be stronger. You know, the old message, don't think about it, just smile. But it doesn't work like that, and we all know that. But those become building blocks for shame. And then that's when we start to internalize it, and we start to believe that struggling is a personal failure instead of a human experience. And the hardest part is that shame convinces you that you're alone in it. Even though so many people feel exactly the same way. Shame just has this amazing capacity to make us believe that everyone else is doing better. It completely distorts reality in such a powerful way. And shame doesn't always show up in big, obvious moments. More often, it slips into everyday life. You know, it's the guilt you feel for cancelling plans because you're overwhelmed, even when you know you need to rest, even when your body and your mind is screaming at you to just rest, you still feel that guilt. It's apologizing for how you feel before anyone's even asked you to. You know, it's convincing yourself you're being dramatic for struggling with something that other people seem to handle fine. But the secret is the people that seem to handle it fine are probably the ones that are experiencing the exact same thoughts, anxiety, shame as you. You know, the amount of people that probably go into work and do the exact same thing as you, pretending that they're okay because it feels easier than explaining or asking for reassurance, even though their brain is telling them that they should already know the answer. You know, everyone who understands this has always got the same thoughts. And the main one being, I should be past this by now. And that's the thing about shame. It's so incredibly convincing. It almost doesn't feel like a feeling. It feels like it's fact, like it's logic. But shame, it's not something you're born with. It's something you learn. And it survives in silence, in comparisons, in the stories we tell ourselves about what we should be able to handle. And the longer it stays unchallenged, the louder it gets. Not because it's right, but because it's gone unquestioned. Sometimes just noticing it is enough to loosen its grip, even just a little bit. Not necessarily fixing it, or pushing it away, or trying to hide it in a little box, but just recognizing, hey, this is shame talking. This is not truth about who I am. Shame is the thing that's responsible for so many of our negative and intrusive thoughts. It's the voice that tells us that we aren't enough, that we're not doing enough, and that we need to hide who we really are. Sometimes one small step is simply questioning that voice. What I like to do is when I feel shame creeping up, I ask myself, if someone I cared about came to me with these feelings, would I feel ashamed about them? Would I tell them to hide? Or would I be proud that they showed up for themselves and they almost burst out of the cage? And I'm not saying that shift fixes everything, because it doesn't, and it's not easy. But for me personally, it has created a little bit of space, and who knows, it might do the same for you. And sometimes that space is enough to just be able to breathe a little easier. You don't have to stop feeling shame overnight, and you don't have to conquer it, outgrow it, or turn it into something meaningful straight away. Because sometimes progress looks like noticing it and choosing not to punish yourself for it. The more we agree with shame, the more power it gets. Sometimes it's about letting it exist without letting it define you. Understanding that shame might still show up, but it doesn't get to decide who you are and the facts of reality. You're allowed to be a work in progress and still be worthy of care, rest, and compassion exactly as you are. If you're listening to this and recognizing your own experience in it, please know this. Your struggles are nothing to be ashamed of. They are not all you are or all you'll ever be. They're not all you have. They're a chapter in your life, but they are not the whole story. You don't need to pretend that you're okay just to protect the people around you. Your feelings matter, and so do you. Yeah, mental health can be devastating to live with, but the other perspective is it gives you a depth of understanding that not everyone has. The ability to feel things deeply, to recognize pain in others, to show compassion in ways that comes naturally to you. Now, don't get me wrong, it's unfair to be forced to develop those skills, and it's absolutely okay to acknowledge that. But those same skills make you an extraordinary human being. They are something to hold with pride, not shame. I may not know you personally, but the fact that you're here tells me a lot. And I want you to know, if no one's told you this lately, I'm proud of you. if this episode has felt a bit close to home, you don't need to do anything with that right now. Just know that you're not alone and you're not broken. And if that little voice inside your head is creeping up telling you you're failing, say from me personally to shut up. Because you're not. The fact that you wake up every single day with the weight of the world on your shoulders, feeling this shame, feeling the fear, it's almost like holding in a really deep, dark secret that if it ever got out, it feels like your world would end and that no one would ever see you the same. So the fact that you get up and you get on with your day is nothing short of a miracle, because I know when that was me, I didn't want to leave my bed. In fact, between us, I'm pretty sure I stayed in bed for a very long time. But it's the small wins that count. It's the getting up, even when you don't want to. It's the looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing past the shame. It's challenging that little voice in your head that's telling you you have to do it all right now, otherwise you're failing. It's a really old, cringy saying, but Rome wasn't built in a day. And your life isn't over in one day just because you said something out loud, just because you're feeling shame. Which, it's very heavy to carry that, absolutely. But you're more than that. You always have been and you always will be. So please don't let shame take away from who you really are. I guarantee if you asked people around you to write one thing about you, none of them would say any of the things that you think in your own head. None of them would write the things that shame tells you that you are. Because shame is a liar. I was going to make a joke then, but I probably shouldn't. But yeah. Again, I'm keeping this one short. But I really appreciate anyone who's listening. It really does mean a lot to me. And I'm hoping over time I can make the episodes longer. But, as I'm starting, I just want to keep things short. And I hope these reach the right people. But please remember to be kind to yourself and to look after yourself the way that you would somebody else, because you deserve it as much as they do. So until next time, keep saying things out loud, finally.